Drag Me to Hell, a 2009 film by Sam Raimi and Ivan Raimi. It's actually quite polarizing in terms of whether or not people think it's good. On Rotten Tomatoes, we see that the critics give this a positive rating about 92% of the time, whereas the general public is more closely aligned with about a 60% rating. So who's right? Is this good or is it not? Well, it turns out in the movie, they rely on a lot of the tropes that we tend to look down on this channel. There are jump scares, there's a lot of body horror and sort of like goofiness, I guess you might say. But it could be the case that the critics are sort of giving this a pass because they know that this is kind of Sam Raimi's style, and it might just be the case, honestly, that they have a little bit of nostalgia for his earlier work around Evil Dead 2, and Army of Darkness. There are quite a bit of similarities there. So in fact, just based on that comparison, if you did like Evil Dead, I would say that this is probably going to be something you're going to enjoy. However, they also do something else that's quite rare. Sam Raimi has a talent for combining horror with a comedic effect. You see that all the way throughout the Evil Dead movies, but it's something that you see in other movies too, where if you're able to kind of like hang a lantern on the seriousness of the film, like you see, for instance, in actually the Avengers movies and Guardians of the Galaxy, or the stark contrast between Thor Ragnarok and the earlier Thor movies, that little bit of humor that serves to diffuse the tension in the film tends to make it a little bit better, I think. So yeah, like that's something Sam Raimi does incredibly well, and that's really, really something that highlights this film and makes it incredibly good. But even beyond that, there's another layer there too, where it's hard to tell whether or not this film, and if you've seen it, of course, this is going to be a spoiler-free review, but there's a huge question around whether or not the events in the film sort of symbolize justice or if they symbolize chaos. Depending on your interpretation, it could seem like this is a moralist tale, but it could also seem like it's incredibly nihilistic. It really just kind of depends, I think, and there's good arguments, I think, on both sides of the story. There's a fantastic discussion that can be had there about whether or not the ending of the film seems to be justified based on the actions of our main character, but it's hard to say. This is something that I think would be fantastic for a longer discussion on our channel, so if you agree with that, let us know down in the comments below.